this video is for everybody who has just now recently learned that our entire political and Hollywood, our whole like powerful social structure is run by pedophiles. And you're shocked and you're horrified and you're disgusted. Like, how is this even possible? How did this even happen? Unsettled and gross, and you're just so confused at how there can be this kind of evil in the world. First of all, I want to say that I'm really sorry. I remember we went through this. I went through this in 2019, 2020, when it was still kind of like conspiratorial. And we tried to come out, we tried to talk about it, but the social media apps would take it down. It was a whole thing, and it was a whole mess. But I'm sorry, because I remember how it felt when I first learned this, so much deeper and darker than just child trafficking, which is deep and dark on its own, okay, but it goes so much darker. I felt confused and broken and stupid. Like, how did I not see this? How did I buy into this? Back then, okay, the whole movement was, and I know what people are saying, but back then, the whole movement, the MAGA movement, was about saving these kids, was about saving the children. At least that's what it was for us. That was what was most important to us. Obviously, that message has gotten lost, and things have changed quite a bit, and that movement has moved on to, we're just not going to talk about it anymore. A bunch of us, though, that are still here, like, this is still kind of the core of what we wanted. We wanted accountability for all of this. I see a lot of you sharing the snuff film that came with some of that stuff initially with John Podesta, and I'm sorry about that. I really am, because it's horrific. I remember the first time I watched that, and there were some others too that we had seen, or I had seen, and my kids didn't leave our house for a month. We went nowhere. The reality is that I'm glad you're here now, and I hold no ill will that you didn't know then what you know now. And I see a lot of comments from people who are like, well, welcome to the club. So glad you could join us. I feel like I deserve an apology for being called a conspiracy. Really, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that, because I feel like I'm just glad that you're here. I'm glad that you see it now. Whatever it took for you to see it and believe it now, I'm glad. I'm glad that I'm not just out here by myself or with my little fringe group of people. Those who are leaving those comments, who are coming down on these people who are just learning about this now, okay, chill the fuck out. Chill the fuck out. The whole goal was to get everybody to see this, okay, and then to come together as a collective and renew our faith or figure something else out, because we weren't going to get there with just our little fringe groups. We weren't going to get there with just you, Boomer Sally. The majority of us that are doing this for the right reasons, who don't care about being first, really wanted to be wrong. We wanted to be wrong. I've never wanted to be wrong more about something in my entire life. I didn't sleep well for a long time. 2024 election, and to a lot of us, was our last chance. That was our Hail Mary, that we were going to do this. We were going to get the right people in there, and they were going to expose this whole thing, and they were going to start holding people accountable. They were going to fix this. And we're here, and they haven't. Well, they are not even talking about it. I don't know. They're dismissing it. Anyway, I'm just glad you're here. I'm glad that it can be talked about openly without being without, you being shamed, or you being, I don't want you to be shamed by those people. Like, don't listen to them. You came to you realized it when you realized it. A lot of you were like 10 when this initially, people really started to find out about this. So I'm not going to come down on you. I'm going to welcome you, because we need you. We need you in order to take this entire collective up to this next level. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what comes after this. But I'm just take solace in the fact that we're all in it together, I guess, that we're unified, at least in this. And I take a lot of peace in that when it came to these kids, okay, that we could come together and hate it.
We can hate it equally. Welcome to the J.J. Carrell Show. There is a significant change happening in America right now. I called it and said that it's the age of awakening, where everything is being revealed. This lady goes under the account called Shipwrecked Shipwreck. I apologize. Shipwreck. I love her stuff. But she said in 4 minutes, she said a great amount of stuff. And I want to dive into what she said. And then I want to talk about the tone, her tone, because I feel a shift is happening in America. One thing she said was, I don't like seeing the comments where people saying, well, where you been? When are you going to apologize to me? And I don't know if, and I agree with her completely, because let's take it from a Christianity perspective. When you're a Christian, even though the people that mock you and call you all these horrible names and are full on abortion and child mutilation, when they come around and they like have a quote come to Jesus moment and they realize that they've been wrong, they turn out to be some of the greatest warriors in this war against evil. Why? Because they've not been just on the side of evil, they've been in the evil. They were driving the evil, and they are ashamed. And you don't have to ask an apology because they offer it up instantly. They apologize over and over and over again. And isn't this what we want? Isn't this what we want, is to convince the other side of what they're doing? One of the greatest examples of evil becoming the greatest champion for our side. And I applaud, and I forget this woman's name, and I really apologize to you, but Clayton Morris of Redacted, the podcast Redacted, incredible podcast. I've been on it several times, huge audience. He had a woman on there that interviewed the premier abortion doctor that they used on Roe v. Wade, that he was doing thousands of abortions. And one day, something happened when he was ripping a baby apart that he realized that he was killing babies. And he was evil. Like, he was the bottom of hell evil. And he changed overnight, and he became a Christian, a staunch, unapologetic Christian, and then became staunch pro-life. The main driver of Roe v. Wade, the guy that created the PR blitz that lied to Americans forever about, well, this many people in the polls say that they want abortion on demand, and this is how many people die of back alley abortion. This is all a lie. It was a PR move. That disgusting, evil human being changed and became a Christian, became the greatest cheerleader for pro-life. So it can happen. And I fall into this. I will be very, very honest with you. I am a law and order guy, and I want justice. And sometimes I want it right effing now. And I have to remind myself, God's using that person. Maybe he needs to take that person, just like he uses me. Maybe I got to make you so humble, JJ, to get to the point where you can be more effective. I don't know. But I have to remind myself, maybe that person's so evil that God is allowing them to fall into the depths of hell. And then he's going to pull them out of there. And he's going to make him the greatest of evangelical preacher for him. Who knows? I mean, we see it over and over and over again. And we also see over and over and over again, and this is what drives us all crazy, I believe. I know it drives me crazy, and I'm just assuming it does for you, is when you are trying so diligently to be a righteous man or a woman. You're working your ass off in your job and in your marriage and being a parent. And you look at people that are evil, not a judgment, not like, oh, that guy must be a thief because he's so wealthy. No. I'm talking about people that are self-proclaimed anti-God, mocks us openly for being Christians, all into abortion, child mutilation. I mean, they're just openly evil, and they're successful. and they have power and influence and money. And the natural reaction is to look at that and say, damn it, how is that person being rewarded? How is in the world that God created, is that man or woman allowed to not only live, but but live a life of absolute luxury? And I know I have to fight against that. I do. What Miss this lady Shipwreck, she's talking about how evil the world is, and how she's talking about she came to this realization in 2019, 2020. That's not 100 years ago. That's what, 5 to 6 years. And she has become a powerful voice within the social media. I don't know how. I do know. Let me rephrase this. I can't truly grasp how people have not picked their sides yet, or how people can go through life and not be vocal about it, about the evil, the child mutilation, the child sacrifice, the adrenochrome. It's not even like Shipwreck said 5 years ago, when she started to uncover this and learn the self-realization, the acknowledgement this is happening. It was still kind of hush hush, like you're a conspiracy theorist. Now with Doge and NGOs, USAID, we're looking at the Epstein files. We're looking at the rampant pedophilia. We're looking at Joe Biden bringing in 550,000 unaccompanied alien children lost in the wind. America being the number one consumer of child pornography. Los Angeles being the number one exporter of pornography in the world. America being one of the top 5 nations on planet Earth that pays money to rape children. It's now open. It's now like an open book. Anyone that does not know that this is happening has to be willfully ignorant. And I have to remind myself that I'm immersed in this from being in law enforcement and going back into law enforcement and seeing the reality that humanity is not good. This is something that I battle with almost daily. My internal thoughts. Are humans good? Are humans bad? And I see it. And sometimes I meet the nicest, most wonderful people, and I'm like, dang, humanity's good. And I have to remind myself, wait a minute. The stuff that you've experienced in your life and in law enforcement, those were not anomalies. They were so prevalent, and you saw it so much that you became so desensitized to it that when I left law enforcement, and after a year or two in retirement, I began to realize that desensitization isn't normal. And what I was witnessing is not normal. It became normal to me. So if I'm pressed, like really, really pressed to make a decision, where do you fall on humanity? I fall on bad. And people are waking up to the fact that this is happening. And the last thing I want to talk about this video, and I've just seen this probably in the last 3 days. So this is what This is my perspective. And I'm pretty spot on when things like this kind of hit me, and I realize when I realize it, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, you've been seeing this, you just have not recognized it. And this time it has not taken me very long to recognize it because it is pronounced. And what is that that's pronounced? There's a shift in the tone. We went through, and maybe this is stages, and maybe I don't understand these stages fully yet, but there seems to be, in this time of awakening, is, and we heard this for probably the last 5 years, is rage. Open borders, transsexuals, LGBTQ, men can have babies. You can't say this, that, or the other. You got to shut up. You're censored. Oh, you don't like Joe Biden? You're an insurrectionist. You go to jail. You're locked in solitary confinement. And we raged and we raged and we raged. And like that lady said, then we voted and we voted and we voted and we pounded the streets. And nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. All that rage, all the way up to this point, and nothing's changed. No one's in jail. No one's in jail. And the stages I think that we just entered, and not everyone's going to get to this stage at the same time, but we've opened the door to this next stage, and everyone on our side that has been raging is beginning to walk through it. And what is that door? What space are we going into now? I believe we are all entering the space of acceptance that what we did in the past, and all of that anger, all of that rage, all of that concern, all that effort was for naught. And in this space of acknowledging that we're losing, like nothing's happened to the most evil people, the most anti-American, the most criminal, the most sexually perverse, the most damaging people in our country. Nothing's happened to them. That we're being ruled by people that hate us, that hate the Christian values, that want to destroy children. And in this phase, it can be frightening because this is when people can go really off the rails, because people begin to feel as if they have nothing to lose. But I think it's also a very positive aspect to be in. And that is that this is now going to be the time where really passionate people are going to begin to truly strategize, truly plan, make partnerships. And I believe this is the beginning of the revolution. And before you dismiss me as I'm crazy, I've been thinking about this quite a bit. I don't think we're going into a civil war. I don't see the parameters of that. I think we're trying to jam a square in a round hole. It's just not going to work. I believe that we're heading toward a revolution. Will it be violent? I don't know. Will it be peaceful? I doubt it. Will there be a spiritual God component? It has to have it. This revolution has to be spiritual. There's no way of keeping God from this, because the people that are in driving this coming revolution is not going to exclude God. They're not going to say, well, this is about government and governance, and we're going to put God over here. No, they're going to put God, we are going to put God in the center and say that he drives everything that we're doing. We don't want war. We don't want a violent, kinetic battle. But you made us here. You brought us here. You forced us onto the battlefield. I believe this tone, and I want you to look at the people that you follow on a daily basis and start to listen to the tone. Not so much what they're saying, but just the tone. And see if you agree with me. America and Americans, I believe, are almost at the saturation point. Because I don't think you can ignore this anymore. And I want to show you this. I could have, as always, taken thousands of videos, but let's just take a few and let's show you what the anger and the rage was. Now there's a settling in of the acknowledgement that the worst people in our society are the most powerful, have the most influence, the wealthiest. And it's maddening.
Clinton Foundation is the biggest organized crime family that I know of. For example, Hillary Clinton took money from the Russians to sell American uranium to Russia. She took money from the Saudi Arabians to sell Syria and Yemen to Saudi Arabia and to justify ISIS and protect ISIS. Hillary Clinton is probably the single most corrupt politician in U.S. history since Lyndon Baines Johnson. And as Secretary of State, money would come into the Clinton Foundation and U.S. support would go out. And by the way, the reason we have 1,000 military bases is not for military power. They're lily pads for smuggling. That is how CIA smuggles gold, guns, drugs, cash, and small children for the elites in the United States. War is a profit center, not just for oil. War produces body parts. It produces orphans. It produces all kinds of human goods that can then be trafficked. And the banks rely on war and drugs for their cash flow, for their liquidity.
It gets dark, right? And it gets dark real fast. I always ask people, are you going to, this is the hill you're going to die on? You're going to tell me that the Clintons are good, honest Christian people? That's what you're going to tell me? We live in this fantasy, this world of unicorns and rainbows, that the Clintons are, yeah, they're not that bad. Yeah, I know that 50 to 60 people that are very close to them have committed suicide. I've lived a very active life. I can only think of maybe 4 or 5 people that I know. They weren't great friends, were very, very close, that killed themselves. They definitely didn't have a direct line to me. Like I wasn't in their lives. They were coworkers, colleagues. 50 to 60? Are you out of your mind? Heading into the weekend, do me a favor and go to sat123.com/JJ and just try and look at their website and say to yourself, do I need this? That's all I'm going to ask. My homework for you this weekend is go to sat123.com/JJ and just look. Sat phone, ballistic backpacks, generators, Starlinks, Faraday packs, everything that you need to be prepared for your family. Just go to sat123.com/JJ and just go on their website. That's my ask. I saw this video yesterday, and I will be honest that it really was wow. First off, it's AI. It's all AI. It's almost 2 minutes 41 second of a AI about Jeffrey Epstein, and it will blow your mind. Look at what's happening to our country. Look at how the wealthy, the most powerful, are dominating our society. And tell me, have you hit your limit yet?
Every time I look into your loving eyes, I see a love that money just can't buy. One look from you, I drift away. I pray that you are here to stay. Anything you want, you got it. Anything you need, you got it. Anything at all, you got it, baby. Every time I hold you, I begin to understand. Everything about you tells me I'm your man. I live my life to be with you. No one can do the thing you do. Anything you want, you got it. Anything you need, you got it. Anything at all, you got it, baby. Anything you want, you got it. Anything you need, you got it. Anything at all. Anything at all, you got it, baby. You got it.
Wow. Tell me where that's wrong. The allegations and the people, were all of them? Would I fight all of them? Would I say that about Mother Teresa? No. Would I say about the papal lineage? Yeah. Yeah. You can't ignore it. You just can't ignore it anymore. And I think that's the biggest change. You don't have to read the 3 to 6 million emails and look at photos and videos from Epstein, but you're damn well hearing about it, aren't you? Seeing it. And you can't unsee it when you see it. And you can't explain it away anymore. Right? And maybe that's what and when I mean we, I don't mean me, and I don't mean a lot of you, but I mean we as Americans, we explained away a lot of this crazy crap as conspiracy as, of course, this couldn't be happening. But it is happening. And it's happening at a rate and a pace that is unbelievable. What's happened to America first? What has happened to MAGA? What is this movement anymore? We're now consumed by the same damn child trafficking under Epstein, finding out that Israel had massive influence through their intel agencies, partner with the United States government and our CIA to allow young girls and young teenagers to be raped in order to honeypot politicians and influencers. Just stop for a second and understand what I'm saying here. If you haven't figured it out, our government, we're our government, sat back and allowed girls to be raped for the betterment of America and Israel. I saw this post by Thomas Massey. I'm going to pull it up. I'll have to read quite a bit of it for you. Okay. Really, there's no way to make it bigger, I guess. But I'm going to read it to you because it's powerful. Thomas Massey, he wrote a string on X, and he's going to answer the question that I just broached. What's happened to MAGA? He said, quote, I voted against a rule to bring this omnibus forward for a vote. Here's a breakdown of some of the most ridiculous items included in the omnibus and some America First items that were not. I offered amendments to correct these errors, all of which were blocked and refused. Now, before I go on, I don't care if you like Thomas Massey and you're more of a Trump, or you can't stand Trump and you're all in Thomas Massey. It doesn't matter. It's just when I read this, tell me, isn't this what we fought against and what we fought for? Here's some things that we fought against. $5 billion plus to provide cash benefits, health care, daycare, and job programs to more refugees on the taxpayer dime. We did not vote for $315 million more to fund the CIA's branch of the State Department that propagandizes, destabilizes the globe, and has particular interests in censorship, attacking conservative media outlets. We did not vote for $3.3 billion to Israel. Oh, and an extra $500 million for Israel. We did not vote for $1.5 billion for Egypt. We did not vote to give Jordanians $2.1 billion. Nearly $700 million for foreign HIV and AIDS. And he finishes with, we could keep going on with these ridiculous provisions baked in, but we can't leave out the America First items Republican leaderships refused to include. They refused my amendment to prevent the government from installing a kill switch in your personal vehicles. They blocked my amendment to freeze the funds for daycare fraud. My amendment was also stopped to stop warrantless surveillance of Americans via the loopholes in the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA. They blocked my amendment to end the propagandizing of U.S. citizens from the State Department and U.S. agencies for global media. They blocked my amendment for creation of a central bank digital currencies. And most importantly, they blocked the inclusion of the SAFE Act to protect our elections from illegal aliens, a top priority for conservatives. Dear God. Honestly, what's going on with MAGA right now? What's happened to the America First? Did you vote for the Congress to appropriate money and create policy for the government to be able to have a kill switch on your cars when you're driving, and some bureaucrat is like, you know what? Stop that car. Or some police, stop that car. Well, you don't have the right to stop me. And don't think it's not going to be abused, because it's going to be abused. Why did we give $3.3 billion to Israel, $2.5 billion to Jordanians? I thought we were out of money, Speaker Johnson, when you guys were talking about giving us a rebate. You didn't give us a rebate because you said we have to bring down the national debt. But I just read off about $10 billion in aid to foreigners. America, when are you going to have enough? The difference between us and our founding fathers, the men that created this country, the men that we came from, they would have already stacked bodies. There would have already been a revolution, and they would have already won and instituted a different form of government. That's just the truth. You don't have to like Thomas Massey, or you like him and you think Trump's horrible, vice versa. It doesn't matter. Where in that thread did he say something that was not factually true and was what we did not want? Why haven't we passed the SAVE Act? No more paperless ballots are gone. It's all paper ballots. It's same-day voting, and it's ID. Why? Well, I played that the other day on Senator Tubbleville said from Alabama. Well, he knows a large number of Republicans and Democrats won their elections through fraud. So they don't want the SAVE Act. I saw a poll on CNN, for example. CNN showed the last 5 years of polling between Republicans and Democrats were averaging over 75% in favor of voter ID. 2025, the poll showed 83%. So America is 3/4 in favor of anti-voter fraud, consolidating everything. Only Americans can vote, only American citizens, same day, paper ballots, and both sides won't pass it. Why? Because our government is absolutely 100% corrupt. I don't even think you can argue with me on this. Like, there's always some wiggle room where, like, we can have a discussion. No, actually, we can't have a discussion on this. Sorry. I'm not pulling a Al Gore. The science is done. No, actually, the science is not done. But I don't think you could sit here and have a discussion or disagreement with me and say, well, the government's not corrupt. You're just not seeing it correctly. I don't even think there's anybody that would even broach that with me or anybody. We know something is wrong. We know not something. We know a lot of things are wrong. I'm going to play another clip from Shipwreck. And I know there's going to be some people on here that watch me that really love Bongino. And I really liked him. Somebody that I respected from this perspective. Former law enforcement, federal law enforcement, got into podcasts and the media and just excelled. And I remember watching him as an agent on duty, thinking, okay, that is what I want to aspire to become. Since he came or took the FBI and now come back, I want nothing to do. I want to be nothing like him. Everything is coming to a head. You can feel it. You can feel it.
For people I want to address are the grifters out there who mistakenly thought I wasn't coming back. Now, I am back. The Podfather is back, and I'm here to take back this movement. This movement's been hijacked by a small group of dipshits and bums and losers who were nothing but doomers under the frame of accountability.
Now, I didn't watch your show, but I did catch the clips on X, as always, and you didn't address anything that the people wanted, and you know it, and I know it, and everybody knows it. Specifically, everything that's happened over the last 48 hours. You wanted accountability, but you were in a position to hold people accountable, and you didn't do it. You want to accuse us of not doing anything but sitting around eating popcorn as if we didn't lose hundreds of accounts, as if we weren't censored for 4 fucking years under this, as if we weren't demonetized and lost out on financial gain from any of this because of big tech. Big tech, who you also didn't hold responsible. They're eating babies, Dan Bongino. But you knew that, didn't you? Because you saw the documents. They've been doing it for years. And you did nothing. And now you're coming back here and you're going to yell at all of us because we hijacked your movement. We never wanted your movement. We didn't leave the movement and hijack it. Okay. You all left us. You talked about a little bit later in this interview that you had information, but you could not share it because it was under investigation. But you owed it to the American people who paid your salary. And you admitted that we paid your salary, that you weren't going to disrupt those investigations. There are no investigations. There are none. You know it. I know it. We all know it. But here's the thing is, I'm not even super fired up. This is kind of par for the core for what a lot of us had expected you to come out and try to do. And when I say try, I mean try. Okay, because this has to be massively hard for you. Or maybe it's not, and you're just that big of a narcissist. It would be hard for any of us who are doing things for the right reasons, who have always tried to do things for the right reason. You called yourself the Podfather? As that? I actually feel kind of bad for you because I may not be worth $150 million. Okay, I may not be worth $150 million, but I have my integrity, which I hold dear to anything that anybody could ever give me. And you don't. They own you. And that solidified for me when you brought Donald Trump on as your guest. You don't have any control over what you say, what you do, what kind of show you're going to put together. You have no creative control. You are going to say what they want you to say. And you're not stupid. You know this all has been going on. You know for a fact that arrests need to come, that accountability needs to, but you didn't do it. Instead, you attack us as if that's some kind of flex, first of all. And secondly, nobody believes in voting anymore. If you lose midterms, it's your fault. I'm never voting again. Do you hear? That's not going to happen. After everything. Now, a lot of us have been in this since 2020. A lot of us knew of all of this since 2020. Okay, so to have it come back up and to see the left kind of get on board and to see everybody else from the right start to get on board, we're not a small group of people anymore. And there's more and more joining our side every single day. Every time the Republicans drop the ball or don't hold people accountable or gaslight people, which is exactly what you did in this segment, every time that happens, more and more people leave your movement. And you can blame us and you can be mad and you can rage and you can say all the good talking points, but nobody's buying it anymore. These people, they don't worship the same God that we do. So when they get up there with their little awards or their fancy new legislation and they thank God that they got it and thank God that I got this, just know that it's not the God that you think it is. They worship demons. And anybody that is still pushing this left or right paradigm, okay, is on their side. The people are awake, Dan, and you don't get to sit with us. And that sucks for you because it's pretty incredible. It's not $150 million incredible, okay? But it's still pretty incredible.
And she's right. The more they push, the more they come to us. It's the age of awakening. And again, on a different take from this lady, but I could go to Ryan Matta, I can go to Tucker Carlson, I can go Nick Fuentes, even Alex Jones. The tone is changing. There is a tone of we're into the next phase, and there's a tone of apprehension because everyone is feeling this need for strategy, for a plan, this need for a revolution. And you hear Shipwreck say, I'm not voting. And this is going to be a war cry for millions of Americans. They're not going to vote. What has changed? I got one of the things I wanted the border lockdown done. What else? What else? What else? I said this about Dan Bongino when he went to the FBI. I said, and if you go back to one of my older episodes last year, I said that people have been asking me, what do I think about Dan Bongino going into the FBI? I said, I have several problems with it, but at the same time, he is our greatest hope because he has the most to lose. If he does not produce, he can never come back and be the same podcaster with the same influence, making the same millions of dollars a year and having the same huge platform, because people are going to run from him if he doesn't do what he needs to do. And he didn't do what he needed to do. And I also think he was set up for failure. I'll just take a minute to tell you why I think he was set up for failure, because I don't want to get too far off this path, but everything is connected, right? In order to change an organization, I'm not saying that you have to be inside it all the time, but in an organization like the FBI, you needed someone that had direct knowledge of the inner workings, the minutia. Who were the players? Who are the I'll do anything to get promoted, to include committing civil rights violations, committing treason against America, go rounding up people from January 6th, entrapping Americans, and then helping to put them in jail. Who were the loyalists to McCabe, to Comey? How the hell was Bongino going to know about that? Bongino wasn't a high level, senior level Secret Service agent. He was a boots on the ground Secret Service agent. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying what it is. He wasn't a like my father, a special agent in charge, or assistant special agent in charge, or a supervisor. No, he was just a ground pounder. I'm not knocking it. I'm just making the point. Then you made him the deputy director. Then you threw Kash Patel in there. Kash Patel had some knowledge, but not a lot. And I know the people that he had that he could have used. I know 3 whistleblowers that he could have used, and they were told they were going to use them, and they didn't. Why wouldn't you bring in the men, 3 men that stood up in the face of Comey and Christopher Wray and all those bastards and became whistleblowers and then lost their jobs? Why wouldn't you lean on them? They're outspoken. They're in the know. Why wouldn't you at least bring them in and pay them, put them on the payroll as consultants? At least they'd be able to walk you through the minutia of a giant organization called the FBI. But they didn't want him to be successful. I thought by now the FBI would be scattered to the 50 states with their own state bureaus of investigation, that the FBI was going to turn into a museum. It didn't happen. Where's the defunding and abolishing the Department of Education? It's still going on. Where's all the Epstein arrest? It's not happening. They opened our borders and flooded our nation with 30 million illegal aliens that are raping and killing, assaulting, robbing, frauding our nation into bankruptcy, into societal and cultural decay and destruction, killing our men, killing our women, raping and killing our children. What in God's name are we doing? No one got arrested yet. How? I wrote an entire book called Treason. I laid it out piece by piece. That's what I know. You're in the inside more than I am, DOJ. Here's another great example I'm going to play for you. And Anna, I pronounce her name wrong. Kasparian from the Young Turks. Another example, somebody that is not one of us, but has come to the realization of what being on our side is. And she makes a damn good point right here about all of the rapists. Where are those names? Where are they?
You know, the Epstein files that were just released by the DOJ did a terrible job in redacting the names of the victims who wanted their names redacted. They were assured their names would be redacted, but they weren't. And so what I found really fascinating was that while the victims weren't protected, the predators seemed to have been protected, including this person who sent an email to Jeffrey Epstein. We don't know who it is. We don't even have their name. They just simply wrote, "I am in China. I will be in the US second week of May." To which Jeffrey Epstein responded, "Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video." I think the public deserves to know who sent Jeffrey Epstein a torture video. And more importantly, what happened to that person? Where is that person today? Was that person ever investigated?
We know there were videos. We know that there was cameras in every room, including the massage rooms. And now our government tells us, oh no, golly gee, we can't find any of the videos. And then we have legacy media doing nonsensical stories about, oh, you know, we don't know if there were video. Yeah, I mean, sure, every room had a camera, but we don't know that they taped anything.
You know,
We've had it. It's all out there now. There is no putting this genie back in the bottle. We could all ignore it. We can try to continue to dance around that America is the greatest country and shiny city on the hill and the blah, 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 blah. We can all continue to live in this fantasy as our federal government takes our money and gives it to foreign nationals and foreign nations when we watch the demographics of our nation be absolutely destroyed to the point that white Americans, the majority for the entirety of the United States of America, will become a minority in its own country. We will also sit here and say nothing as we bring in Jews and Muslims into America. And we're also to act like our founding fathers wanted those two groups of people in our country? No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Are we going to act as if when the Nuremberg trials ended, that we brought over all of those scientists, all of those madmen, all of those sycophants into our society and placed them in academia, into NASA and the sciences? Are we going to act as if the Russian Jews did not come over to America? It's written in history, documented in history, and they moved their way to the West Coast and became the owners and creators of Hollywood and all of the standing studios of today. Are we going to sit here and act as if it's all okay that Jeffrey Epstein, Israel, Mossad, the United States of America, and CIA raped young girls as young as at least 10 and allowed that to happen by the thousands over a long period of time? And you know this, and then they populate the names of the poor women, the young girls then, but women now, that were raped multiple times a day for years, and yet they redact all the names of the Johns. Why is that? Because the Johns are the most powerful people in our society. Do you understand what's happening? We do not have a blind justice system. We have a 2, 3, 4 tier justice system. We have people that are elites that have money, power, and prestige. They live in a different world with different rules that we have no access to. They can do anything. They can kill children. They can rape them to death. They can traffic them. They can play games. They can do adrenochrome. They can do anything they want. They can steal us blind by trillions of dollars, not millions, not billions, trillions of dollars, to the point that we are bankrupt as a nation. That we're so bad with our money because we have allowed the most vile humans on planet Earth to take and steal our money, that other nations are working day in and day out to try to get off the dollar or the petrodollar. When that happens, we become Zimbabwe and we die overnight. Our nation needs a revolution. I don't want it, but what I don't want more than that is my son having to fight in that revolution. I want to do the fighting so my son and his generation can have families and live in the United States of America and be represented by American first patriots. I don't want my son and his wife and his children to have to listen to congressmen like Tim Burkett from Tennessee have to come out openly and state everyone in the houses of Congress are corrupt to the core, that our whole entire government is corrupt, that they're run by satanic pedophiles. This is not even argued anymore. They don't even try to smear us with conspiracy theories. They don't even try to mock us anymore. It is almost an acceptance that they've been found out. And it's a power play on their part. As everyone talks about the ramping up of rhetoric and the violence, I'm telling you, there seems to be a calming of everything. Our side is awakening to the truth. Their side is awakening to the fact that they've been discovered. What happens next? We don't remain at status quo. We don't just continue down this road and not colliding. We're colliding. How bad is that collision going to be? I don't know. How many casualties? I don't know. But what I do know is a revolution is coming. And it's going to have God at the center. It's going to be spiritual because we are not a Democrat versus Republican. They're a uniparty. We are living in a time in American history that is so obvious. So obvious. This is good versus evil. This is God versus Satan. A revolution is coming. You better make your decision on what side you're going to fight and die on.